Hi, I'm Eric Warner,
And I'm Christina Werner.
and we've been leading the Going Deeper discussion through this sermon series on facing our challenges. So, the theme this week is taking leaps of faith. And so, when I think back about that in my life and in our lives, what comes to mind is when we were both involved in a new church development, so a brand new church that was in the process of forming and sort of gaining momentum. And so when you're in a situation like that, everything is new, everything is, you're sort of developing it kind of as you go. And so, pretty much everybody there, and it was a small group of people involved, was sort of involved in leadership roles. And so we very quickly became involved in some of the leadership there, and in particular in the area of Christian education. And so that was something, at least for me, that I was never really involved with before, or formally, I guess, a part of. And so that for me was, committing to that, or I guess saying yes to that, was a big leap of faith. And what was interesting about that is, in times where you're a little bit nervous maybe to say yes to something, you really can see how it's all God and how He can use that, you and use the situation to kind of bring about things that He would want. And so, in this case, our Christian education program, really started to grow and kind of gain momentum. And something that, thinking back about that, not only do we sort of see the development of this program, but it also personally changed me a lot. I mean, I was able to sort of, dig into Scripture, dig into my faith, and really reflect upon things that at a level that I maybe wouldn't have otherwise if I wasn't asked to do this. So, something that it really kind of, I guess, impressed upon me was this idea of how important that process is when you're called and asked to maybe make a leap of faith, how it's not just about the final endpoint maybe and the result, but a lot about that process and about what God can do with you and sort of in your development along the way.
And for me, just recently, I started at a brand new school, and I said yes to a job in a school that is only 2 years old, and that's kind of a little bit scary coming back after being off for several years at home with my children, and very similar themes to what Eric had said, and just everything's new. You're taking on leadership roles, you're making decisions, and you're thinking, is this the right thing? Is this not the right thing? And also in lines with what Eric had mentioned about process is that I found myself, my first year back was last year or 2 years ago, and then COVID came and everything changed, and it was just really, really difficult. And I found myself, really drawn to these stories of people taking a leap of faith, and then it stretching out for a really long time and having hardship after hardship coming. And I found myself drawn to these stories of the in-between, and how did people come back from mistakes? How did people come back and keep going with the vision that God had given them originally when they originally took that leap of faith? And so I think back to Hannah's story and how I kept thinking and reflecting and being drawn to the part where she prayed for her son and then promised him to the Lord, to service to the Lord. And I think that, gosh, that must have been so hard to keep living that out and to follow through with that, and then every day live with that decision and what that meant for her. And so I think that while I do love a good underdog story where there's a beginning where they took this leap of faith and then they tell the ending and how they were triumphant, I think more and more in this stage of my faith journey, I'm really drawn to that middle. How did you day to day, how did faithful people live out that calling even when it looked like they weren't sure why they originally took that leap of faith? Thank you for joining us this week in this portion of Going Deeper. We look forward to having you join us next week.